Hello, welcome to Judy's Creations in Crochet, and I'm coming to you from southwestern Ontario in Canada. And I am all about showing you what I am doing in crochet. I like to show you finished objects as often as I can, or to show you what I'm working on at the moment. And I also like to show yarn that I have purchased. And the yarn that I mostly purchase is hand-dyed yarn. And recently I've been trying to buy as much hand-dyed yarn as I can from Canadian dyers. And so I like to share where I get my yarn. And as I also show other things. This year I started a monthly cowl based on the flower of the month. So every month I come to you with a different picture for inspiration to make something, and you can send me something made in the colors of the picture. And at the end of the month I do a slideshow of all the items that my viewers have sent me. And then I show the next month, and we're coming up on one of those very soon, which I will mention a little bit later in this video. So usually I start with finished objects. I'm going to put that off just a wee bit and talk about what have I been working on this past week. Well, as you know from the last couple of videos, I have been involved in a test project for an asymmetrical scarf, and hopefully it was to be made with one of the Tribus or Nubus or whatever from Lion Brand. And I actually used, I have an itchy nose. I always have an itchy nose when I get on here. I used the Tribu Sparkle, and as I told you last week, I finished it last week. I can't show you that until after May the 9th. She's going to release the pattern on May the 9th. So it's a couple more weeks before I can actually show you. But what I wanted to say is I had finished it according to the instructions and the number of repeats that she said. And then I decided when I looked at it this week that I really wasn't happy with the length or the size of it. And I still had more than half of a ball of the Tribu left. So I picked that back up, and I will be working on it again this evening probably, and add more length to it so that when I do show it to you, it will be bigger than she suggested. So that's one thing I worked on a teeny bit. The other thing I've been working on has been the Windsurfer shawl. I didn't get very much done on it this week, and you'll understand why in a minute. But I wanted to show you the teeny bit of progress I made. Last week I was here and I did this. So I've done 5.5 rows. So you can't see a lot of progress on this. But my focus in the coming week is going to be working on this Windsurfer shawl. I do enjoy working on it. It is very, it's a relaxing project to work on. And here's one of the cakes. You can see I still have a fair bit to go. I sometimes think I'll never finish this aqua color, but my focus this week will be on this. I would really, really like to have it done to show you an FO next week. But the reason I made very, very little progress on anything else this week is the fact that I was working on my submission, you might say, for the April Cowl. I picked up the yarn that I was going to use, and I did show it to you, and I worked until I was finished it, and I only finished it yesterday. So I was using a skein of this. You can see it has sparkle in it, and a skein of this. Now I will put in, I think today I'll put in a picture right here of the inspiration for the month, which was daisies. And this was the body, and I'm going to say approximately 90 yards left of this one. And this was the trim, and I think, 120 yards of this. So this is about the size of most mini skeins. This is a little bigger. So what did I make? Whoops, I have on one of my necklaces. If you recall, those that have watched me for a while, I also made jewelry. And this is an item I made with dichroic glass. Do you see the color in the background there? I made a pattern by C.J. Brady called Flowers Always. And it is not a very deep, but quite wide, because it is, if I do my wingspan out, I still have that much more on both sides. But it is a shallow scarf. And then what I really want you to see, and this is what took me way more time than I expected, I want you to see, maybe if I go to the end, I can show it better. There we go. The very intricate flowers, that she calls these flowers, and in every one there are 4 petals going around. And then and this had a feature in the pattern of working backwards, you might say, I have never done before. So if you are looking for, the body is simple, very easy. Repeat, you start at this end, it gets bigger, and when you get to the middle, you start decreasing until you get narrow again. And that part was very easy. Then there was 4 rows for the border. First 3 rows were very easy, but there was a challenge to figuring out the instructions at the beginning of how to make these flowers. Once I figured it out, it wasn't hard to do. But if you're looking for something with a little bit of a challenge or a different stitch in it, then I would recommend this. I think it turns out beautiful. Imagine the combinations you could use. She does suggest a dark body with a light contrast color, but it could easily be done the other way around as well. I just think this is a little more eye-catching. And it took me a couple of days to do this outside row. And again, it's called Flowers Always by the designer C.J. Brady. You know, she's one of my favorites. And I will link this pattern below. Now, the dark blue or dusky blue, denim blue, I don't know what yarn this is, but this was an EFA called, I think it's called Shimmer Fingering. And they don't carry this at the moment. I don't know if they've gone out of it completely or if it's one of the ones that they bring back every so often. They don't carry all of their bases all of the time, just because they have so many different ones. But that is the finished object, and it took me most of the week. So that's why I didn't make much progress on the others. Now, while we're talking about this, I want to remind you that the end of the month is coming. I forgot to say at the beginning, this is April the 27th, 2023, and it's almost the end of the month. And in fact, Friday, tomorrow, after you see this, tomorrow, Friday the 28th is the deadline for sending me your pictures of what you made based on this month's inspiration. I, at the moment, don't have as many as I did last month, so I have to think there are some people out there still hustling to finish an item. So hopefully you will get that to me tomorrow, because I will work on it on the weekend, and then Monday is May the 1st. So Monday, you'll have to tune in again. I will have another video out on Monday where I will show all of your finished objects, and I will give you the inspiration for May. And I know everybody is always waiting anxiously to see what the next month will be, especially those people that have already finished the April one. So that's what I have to say about the monthly cowl for the moment. But please remember, get your picture to me by Friday evening. Now, while we're still talking about things I'm working on, I also want to mention that when I finish my Windsurfer shawl over here that I just showed you, the next thing that I'm going to be working on is I'm going to participate in a cowl, you might call it, that is being put out, a collaboration by Lynn Ann at Nina's Knots Crochet and Jackie at Crochetedy HD. They are starting a hashtag Tanks and Tees 2023. By the way, I should mention, when you finish your pictures for the month, I'm backtracking. Sorry, I'm all over, but I have to do it when I think about it or I forget. Some people are putting their pictures on Instagram, and I really appreciate that. And the hashtag there is Judy's Cowl 2023. Now, there aren't as many, but I really hope some of you will also put them in my Ravelry group. But I'll talk more about that on Monday. So back to the tanks and tees. I will link both Lynn Ann and Jackie. I will link one of their YouTube's videos in the description box. Particularly, I will link the one that Jackie put out just this week. And it's called, I think it's called 10 Free Tees on Ravelry, something like that. And she talks about the cowl, if you want to call it that, and she shows some possible pictures of patterns you can use. And they originally started this using one called the Wren Tank and the Wren Tee, I think. And I'm going to make the tank. I'm too old to be wearing tees anymore, tanks anymore. I'm going to make tees. And I'm going to use, she recommends Kaboo. And I happen to have 5 balls of this, which I think should be enough. This is Kaboo. I think most of you are familiar with Kaboo. And this is the color. I'm going to make a tee. And I saw when I was looking through several other tees that intrigued me, and I have another Kaboo in a very bright pink fuchsia. I think I'm going to try using that. And they also recommend the Traboo and Nubu. They are a little bit heavier, so I may choose to use something from my EFA stash, or go through and see what else I have in the cottons to make at least one more besides this. I think I want to make 2 or 3. I need some summer tops, so I think I'm going to be busy making some of those. You have all of May and June to participate in that particular cowl. So that's what I'm going to be working on, along with my own May cowl, which we'll talk about on Monday. So that's what I've been working on and what I'm going to work on. So now what we're going to do today is, I said I was going to do another review of a yarn from EFA. And the yarn I decided to review is the Oasis Fingering. Now, this cubby right here is full of Oasis Fingering yarns. And you can see it comes in a real variety of colors. I have caked up a couple. Isn't that pretty? And first, let me tell you the content of it. Oasis Fingering has 50% camel and 50% mulberry silk. And it has 457 meters or 500 yards. So it is a skein that has more than usual, because sort of the standard is 400 meters, which gives about 437 yards. So this is a little bigger than standard sizes. I don't know if you can see, there is a sheen to it. See the sheen? And it is very, very silky more than anything. It makes a nice garment. And I will show you a few things made in it after I show you the yarn. So I first wanted to talk about the difference in the yarn. Now, if you remember, I have so far in the past reviewed Mirage Sport, and I have reviewed, the last one was Pearlescent Fingering, although it also comes in worsted. And what I wanted you to notice, I have all three of them here, and of course I am going to, for sure, get everything tangled. But I wanted you to notice that if you take these three yarns side by side, there we go. The gray one is Mirage. The purple one is the Pearlescent. And the green is the one I'm going to show you today, which is Oasis. Now, is that too blurry? What I was hoping you would notice, because I notice it when I'm working with it, the gray is kind of kinky because that was something I pulled out. But what I was hoping you would notice is that that green is just a wee bit thinner. These are all fingering, sorry, that's Sport. Sport is always a teeny bit thicker than Fingering, but the purple Fingering is thicker than this. There's just the two of them. And can you see that the green is thinner? I don't know if that's true of all things made with camel, but it's definitely true with EFA and their Oasis Fingering. So now let me get this unwound and get this out of here. I have actually made a swatch, and mostly did it in double, the first row is single crochets and then double crochets, and then I did a row of posts, and I started to do some clusters or puff stitches. Because it's thinner, it doesn't make a really big puff. But what I wanted you to see is, because it is thinner, when you're making something in double crochets, you can see through it. It's not going to make a real nice tight knit kind of fabric. Now, it's very easy to work with. I used my furls 3.5 5 millimeter. That seems to be comfort. I suppose if I used a 3 millimeter, your double crochets might be a bit tighter. It is silky, so it works nicely. And I want to show you also that it frogs easily. You will get the occasional catch, but not much. So you see, it's frogging without giving. Now there's one little tug, but if I pull the other side, it comes free. There is a little bit of a halo on this yarn, but not substantial. So that is the skein I am using of the, now I've got the two ends tied. I'll have to take that apart before I wind it up. So that is the one I stitched with. When you have the yarn, it feels really very nice in your hands. Now, I have made several things. I have 3 items here I have made with it, so it's not like I have never tried it. And you've seen at least 2, if not all of these before. If you remember, in my Make 9 last year, and of course not all of you have been here that long, but for the year 2022, I had a Make 9 card, and one of the items I made was a Jazzy Barista shawl, big scarf from EFA, and I made it 3 times. I made it in a very heavy sparkle decay, gray with bright purple. And then I made it in a non-EFA yarn, I believe. And then finally I made this Jazzy Barista in the Oasis Fingering. Now, if you remember that great big gray and purple one, it was quite big. And this is much smaller. A very fine yarn and great for tying around your neck. It is very comfortable and silky, really nice material. So that's one item I have made with the Oasis Fingering. Another item I made, and I am not 100% sure about the pattern. I think it's an EFA pattern, but I can't swear to it. One that they have that's very, very long, and it becomes a asymmetrical triangle. Very pretty colors, and it is a very long, narrow, asymmetrical triangle. Again, very silky and would be very, very comfortable to wear. And finally, like I said, I think you might, you can see I put another color in there, a matching, but it sort of loses it because they're so similar. There it is again. That's what makes me think it's that EFA pattern. I can't remember. And finally, I don't know how many of you were here when I did shawls, and I did a lot of shawls, but one episode I did was you can make the same pattern in different fibers and see the difference. I made the Granny Merge shawl, which is a fiber spider shawl. I will link that down below, although I have linked it many, many times because I make it quite often. And by the way, I will link the Jazzy Barista down below as well. And this is the Granny Merge. I did it in a 4-weight or probably a mandala. I do mandala quite often. And I forget the second one I did. And the third one I did was this Oasis Fingering. And again, if you use a mandala, it's quite big and heavy, which can be worn as a shawl. This isn't quite as big as a shawl would be, but I like it because, again, it can be worn around the neck. And this is the perfect size to put around the neck. But the other thing is, it is a lighter weight than a mandala. Most of you are familiar with lion brand mandalas. This is a lighter weight, so nice to wear when it's not quite as cold. But there we go. So I have made a few items with the Oasis Fingering. I like the Oasis Fingering. You can tell I've ordered a fair bit of it. And I'm going to pick maybe 2 or 3 colors that go together and make something bigger in the future. When it'll be, who knows? I have a very, very long to-do list of things that I want to do. So that is our review of Oasis Fingering. What would I rate it? That's what I've been saying with all of the ones I review. And once again, I have been starting by reviewing things that I do like, that are in my top picks from EFA, because I don't like them all the same, although you're going to think so, because once again, this is rated high, but not all of them are rated as high. And the others had reasons for being 4.5, and I think out of 5, I would again rate this as 4.5. The only thing being is because it is thinner, a little bit harder to work with. And when you're frogging it, it's easy to frog, but every so often it does get hung up and you have to work it. So it's not perfect. I don't know if I ever have worked with a yarn that I would consider perfect, but this is very close. And the feel is wonderful. So another great yarn from EFA. And I know I say a lot about EFA yarns, first of all, because I really, really like EFA yarns. And I was asked to do a review on the various types of EFA, so you would have a feel for it in case you decide to purchase, just treat yourself once and get a yarn. My reviewing each of them and what they're good for might help you choose one. I do believe that Candy and her designers have done one sweater with this. Definitely, if you are a type of person that's very hot, this would be a nice yarn to do a top, a tank, a tee in, because it is lightweight. But I think either you got to be prepared to wear a tank, like a camisole under it, or you would have to use a smaller hook, smaller than my 3.5, to make the weave tighter, and therefore you would need a little more yarn. But 500 yards in a skein is good. So that's my review of another EFA yarn. So I'm just going to kind of get them out of my way here, and we can move on. I need a drink. I'm very dry again. Okay, so next thing I want to do, and I think you all enjoy this very much, is I wanted all that wool. I've got it in my mouth now. I want to do, I want to show you some of my acquisitions again, and I'm going to show several today. Now, keep in mind, last week I mentioned a pattern by Karen Hooley, and it's called Glacier. I'll put a picture up here once more. Several of you mentioned you really liked it, so I might as well show it again. And I was on the lookout. That's why these are all really recent purchases, I was on the lookout for what are called sock sets. And a sock set comes with one skein of regular size, 100 grams, and a matching or contrasting skein, 20 gram mini skein to go with it. So I'm going to show you some acquisitions I've made because I bought a sock set, and then, like always, to make the shipping worthwhile, I ordered a few more. And I ordered a couple just recently, but I had one by fluke that I ordered last fall. So I'm going to show you last fall first. This is a company called Sweet Georgia. And they are in Vancouver. And here is the sock set. Now, this is a perfect sock set. You make your sock, and there's the cuffs, toes, and heels. But I think the picture that I showed you a minute ago would look great done in this. And it is, I'm pretty sure it's a merino nylon. Yeah, merino nylon 80/20. And it actually has, this is bigger than usual, 486 meters. Oh, this is per set. So they're taking the two of them together, 530 yards. So this is probably 430 maybe, or 440 and 90. But I think they would be great in that scarf. So when I was ordering from them, because they did not have any kind of free shipping deal or anything, I ordered some other things to justify the shipping. So I also got, and I was trying to get different bases. So this one is a BFL and silk. There is absolutely no silk feeling to it. It feels like, usually, I find BFL is not as soft or pleasant feeling as merino. It has more of that wool feel, and this does. And it has, doesn't say how much of each, but it's BFL and silk, no silk feeling, and it is called Marine. And nice color, not my favorite texture. Then I have another BFL and silk. You see, I'm thinking, I know that BFL is rougher, but I figured the silk would make it feel better, and it didn't. Must be a very small percentage, but I can't find, no. And, 25% silk. And it only has 370 yards, 338 meters. So not as much yarn. Pretty color, and it's called mulberry. Now this next one is not BFL. This is called Cash Luxe Fine. And this one has merino and 20%, 70 merino, 20 cashmere, and 10 nylon. And it has 420 yards. That's about your standard size. Now this feels nice. I felt nicer ones with cashmere, merino, nylon. It's called MCN. I felt nicer ones, but this feels fine. And it's called Velvet Elvis. Not quite sure why. I didn't think he was known for purple. In fact, Donny Osmond was the one known for purple. But anyway, this feels nice. I definitely would enjoy working with this. And the last one from there, of course, is still a same base as this with sparkle added. Different color. It's called Empress. So it has 80 merino, 10 cashmere, and 10 stellina. It has a little less cashmere, not quite as soft, but still very nice. So those are the ones I got from Sweet Georgia, and I got those last fall. I don't know why I happened on their site. Just one of those things, I guess, when I was flipping through Canadian sites, I found that one. Now, these next two are also Canadian, and I just bought them this past month. The first one, and I'll show you just a regular skein. This is Bramble Ridge. Now, it's also out in the Vancouver area, and I don't know if you remember that name, but Bramble Ridge is the company I bought one of the advent calendars from for this past Christmas, December 2022. And it is the set that I said it was based on Christmas drinks. So the colors were all over. I actually made a asymmetrical triangle with the colors, but it was the one that smelled so strong. It had cloves and cinnamon in it. Anyway, same company. This is Nice Feeling Yarn. It is called Smooth Sock, which is 8515, fairly common blend of merino nylon. And I love these fall colors. I will maybe in the fall make something with it. Their base is called Smooth Sock, and this color is called Leaves 2. Really nice. But I want to show you the sock set I got from them. Isn't that interesting? So it's sort of a pink with splashes of, I'd say, a maroon or wine, burgundy, so dark it's almost black in some places. This is, it's a DK sock set. I might have missed that when I was buying it. So I've told myself I am going to learn to make socks this year. So maybe I'll use this DK sock with the hope that it's enough to make a pair of socks. And it's called Pink Sergeant number 1, I guess. And it has the matching in a very dark color, like the color that is going through it. Pretty, I think. I'll have to think about the DK, and I'll look at that glacier pattern to see if this is enough yarn. And finally from them, I also bought, I bought 2 of these. I'm finding that oftentimes I want to make a shawl in what I buy, and one is just not enough. So I bought 2 so I could make a shawl with that. And the other color I bought is still the Smooth Sock, same as the fall colored one, and it's called Galaxy, same specs, 8515 in these colors, and I think you can see they definitely are my kind of colors. That should be stunning. And again, I think I'd like to make some kind of shawl in that. So I'm going to have 400, 800, 437. So 774. If I find something that's open, I can make a nice size shawl with that. So that's from Bramble Ridge in Vancouver. And one last set to show you. And this is from a company called Dragonfly. And they are in Saskatchewan. I think it's Unity, Saskatchewan. But here's the first one. And the color online was a little more vibrant than this. And they really, there's their logo, Dragonfly Fiber Studio. The color really intrigued me, so I got it even though it is a DK and it's merino nylon DK, 100 grams, which means they don't have the length, but it means there's probably only 200 and some yards, called Berry Sorbet. Now, it feels nice. Merino nylon in a DK weight, it's fine, it's average. So that one, when it came, the color wasn't quite what I expected. It didn't live up to my expectations. But I got 2 sparkle skeins. Again, no free shipping, so I want to make this worthwhile. The first sparkle is this color. They call it, I know I don't pronounce it right, aubergine, which is French for eggplant, according to my friend. And it has stellina in it, and it is 75-25 nylon. And again, they don't say the yardage, but I have to guess it's your usual. It feels okay. You don't feel the metallic at all. And I think I'd like to put this alongside something white and speckly. But you can see that sparkle, very pretty. Now, here's the other sparkle set, and it is a sock set. Reds and blacks. It's actually called Black Cherry, and it has 100 grams and 20 grams. So the reds and gray, and see there's shades, go with a black to set it off. I think that will be quite stunning. And again, it's your 75-25. Actually, it'd be less than 25 because of the stellina, but still. That was the sparkle and a sock set. So I really like that. That'll make that shawl that I showed you. And one more sock set. And I really like this. This pink is a lighter pink than the other, and it has gray to black in the speckling throughout it. Again, it's 75-25, no sparkle, and it feels nice, average. And the color of this one is maize. Isn't that a yellow? I don't know. But anyhow, and I really like, even though this is pink and that is really gray black, this purple actually looks pretty with it. I like the combination. And I think I told you they're in Saskatchewan. So that is pretty much all the sock sets I have at this point. The 4 I showed you today and 1 I showed you last week. I don't have anything else on order with sock sets, although in my Etsy cart, I do have, I think, 1 or 2 from a dyer that is in Montreal that I have bought from 2 or 3 times before, and I know I like her yarn, but I'm letting it sit for a bit because I have purchased advent calendars this month. I think I'll wait till next month to make that purchase from her. So that covers all the yarn I've purchased, not all the yarn, but what I purchased with sock sets in it to show you. And it covers what I've been making. I'm not too sure what we're going to do next week. Hopefully I will have finished objects to show you, at least one. And of course, remember, there will be a video on Monday, and I will show you my April finished cowl again and the color for next month. That's always an exciting time to see what is the next month going to be. So I thank you for sharing some time with me. I hope you enjoyed what I had to show you. And if you are new, I hope you will subscribe. And I thank you, all of my loyal subscribers. I appreciate every one of you and the comments that you make. So I look forward to seeing you on Monday with all of your finished objects. And until then, happy hooking.